They say the winners get to write history, but sometimes it's the fools who get to tell the tale. From multi-million-dollar catastrophes to jaw-dropping blunders, these are the moments that went down in history for all the wrong reasons. Politicians who saw their empires vanish in an instant. Inventors who threw away their own fortunes. And people so mind-bogglingly clueless, they practically reinvented the word idiotic. So, get ready, because this isn't a tale of brilliance.
It's about the 36 most ridiculous people in U.S. history.
Number 1. The guy who sold the Brooklyn Bridge over and over. Background. George C. Parker was a con artist in the early 1900s who specialized in selling landmarks he didn't own. His favorite? The Brooklyn Bridge, the event. He sold the bridge to gullible tourists and immigrants multiple times, forging deeds and setting up toll booths. Some buyers tried to set up their own toll operations before police stopped them. The outcome. Parker was finally arrested in 1928 and spent the rest of his life in prison. But his scam became so famous, it inspired the phrase, "If you believe that, I have a bridge to sell you." Punchline. George proved that if you act confident enough, people will buy anything, including infrastructure they can literally see doesn't belong to you. Number 2. The Boston Molasses Flood, Death by Desert. Background. In 1919, a massive storage tank in Boston's North End held over 2 million gallons of molasses. It was a warm January day. The tank wasn't built well. The tank exploded. A 25-foot wave of molasses roared through the streets at 35 mph, swallowing everything in its path. People drowned in syrup. Buildings collapsed. Horses were trapped in sticky death. The outcome: 21 people died. 150 were injured. The cleanup took weeks. On hot days, locals say you can still smell molasses in the North End. Punchline. Boston proved that even something as innocent as molasses can kill you if you're dumb enough to store it in a cheap tank. Sweet dreams. Number 3. The woman who glued her hair for a month. Background. In 2021, Tessica Brown, aka Gorilla Glue Girl, ran out of hairspray before a night out. So she improvised. The event. She used Gorilla Glue Spray adhesive on her hair. Industrial strength adhesive, the kind that says permanent on the can. Her hair became a solid helmet. The outcome: it stayed that way for a month. She tried everything: shampoo, olive oil, acetone. Nothing worked. She went viral on TikTok. A plastic surgeon finally removed it in a 4-hour procedure, for free, out of pity. Punchline. Tessica became a millionaire from GoFundMe donations and product deals. She glued her way to fame and fortune. America, ladies and gentlemen. Number 4. The guys who stole a bridge. Yes, a whole bridge. Background. In 2008, thieves in Pennsylvania decided to steal something big. Really big. They targeted a 50-foot steel bridge over a creek. The event. Over several nights, they dismantled the entire bridge, piece by piece, and sold it for scrap metal. The bridge was worth $100,000. They made about $5,000. The outcome: they were caught almost immediately. Turns out, stealing a bridge leaves a lot of evidence. And witnesses. And a missing bridge. Punchline. They stole a bridge and made less than minimum wage. Crime doesn't pay, but it definitely employs idiots. Number 5. The guy who jumped off a building to prove windows were unbreakable. Background. In 1993, Gary Hoy was a lawyer in Toronto. Okay, not the US, but too dumb to ignore. He liked to show off how strong the windows in his office building were. The event. During a meeting with law students, Hoy threw himself against the window on the 24th floor to prove it was unbreakable. It had worked before. This time, the window popped out of its frame. The outcome: Hoy fell to his death. The window didn't break. It just left. He was right about the glass, wrong about the frame. Punchline: Gary Hoy died proving he was technically correct. That's the worst kind of correction. Number K, the man who tried to extort Pepsi with a syringe. Background: in 1993, a man in Washington state claimed he found a syringe in his can of Diet Pepsi. The story went viral. Suddenly, copycat claims popped up nationwide. The event, it was a hoax. The original guy had planted the syringe himself, hoping to extort money from Pepsi. The FDA investigated and found zero evidence of tampering in Pepsi's production. The outcome: the man was arrested and sentenced to prison. Pepsi's stock briefly tanked, costing them millions. But surveillance footage showing people inserting syringes into cans themselves cleared Pepsi's name. Punchline: dude tried to scam a soda company with a needle and got caught on camera. Next time, maybe just ask for a refund. Number 7. The doctors who performed lobotomies like candy. Background: in the 1940s and 50s, Dr. Walter Freeman popularized the lobotomy, a procedure that involved scrambling a patient's brain with an ice pick through the eye socket. It was supposed to cure mental illness. The event: Freeman performed over 3,000 lobotomies, often without anesthesia, in his office or even his van. He lobotomized children. He lobotomized Rosemary Kennedy, JFK's sister, leaving her permanently incapacitated. The outcome: most patients were left in vegetative states or with severe disabilities. Freeman was eventually banned from operating. The lobotomy is now recognized as one of medicine's greatest mistakes. Punchline: Freeman wanted to cure the mind by destroying it. Turns out that's not how brains work. Who knew? Number 8. The salad oil swindle, $175 million in missing oil. Background: in the 1960s, Anthony Tino DeAngelis ran a New Jersey company that stored vegetable oil in massive tanks. Banks loaned him money based on the oil's value. The event: except there was no oil. The tanks were filled with water, with just a thin layer of oil on top to fool inspectors. Tino borrowed against phantom inventory, pocketing $175 million. The outcome: when the scam was exposed, it nearly destroyed American Express and caused a stock market crash. Tino went to prison, but the financial world learned a hard lesson: always check the tank. Punchline: Tino proved you don't need oil to cause a financial crisis, just really good water and even better lies. Number 9. Guy who drank radium water until he died. Background: Eben Byers was a wealthy industrialist and socialite in the 1920s. He injured his arm and was prescribed Radithor, a health tonic laced with radium. Doctors said it would cure everything. The event: Byers drank multiple bottles a day for years. He swore it made him feel amazing. He even gave it to his horses. Radium, by the way, is highly radioactive and extremely lethal. The outcome: his jaw fell off. Then his skull disintegrated. He died in 1932, and his body was so radioactive it had to be buried in a lead-lined coffin. A Wall Street Journal headline read, "The radium water worked fine until his jaw came off." Punchline: Eben Byers didn't just die from stupidity. He glowed while doing it. Number 10. The inventor who killed himself with his own invention. Background: Thomas Midgley Jr. was a chemist who invented leaded gasoline and CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons. Both turned out to be environmental disasters, but that's not how he died. The event: in 1940, Midgley contracted polio and lost mobility. Being an inventor, he designed an elaborate pulley system to lift himself out of bed. One morning, he got tangled in the ropes. The outcome: he strangled himself to death in his own contraption. The man who poisoned the planet with lead and destroyed the ozone layer was ultimately killed by his own engineering. Punchline: Midgley had a greater impact on the atmosphere than any other single organism in Earth's history. And then, he hanged himself with a bedsheet pulley. Irony is undefeated. Number 11. The guy who sold the Eiffel Tower twice. Background. Victor Lustig was a con artist who, in 1925, read that the Eiffel Tower needed expensive repairs. He had an idea, why not sell it? The event? Posing as a government official, he convinced a scrap metal dealer that Paris was secretly selling the tower. The dealer paid him a fortune. Lustig fled to Austria. Then, get this, he came back and sold it again to a different guy. The outcome, the second buyer was too embarrassed to report it. Lustig moved to America and kept scamming until he was finally caught counterfeiting. He died in Alcatraz. Punchline: Victor proved that if you're confident enough, you can sell someone a landmark you don't even own, twice. Number 12. The Tulsa Race Massacre Cover-Up, Forgetting the Unforgivable. Background. In 1921, a white mob attacked the prosperous black community of Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, known as Black Wall Street. Up to 300 people were murdered. The district was burned to the ground. The event. Here's the dumb part. For decades, Tulsa tried to pretend it never happened. It wasn't taught in schools. Records were destroyed. Survivors were silenced. America collectively decided to forget one of its worst acts of racial terror. The outcome. It wasn't until the 1990s that historians and survivors forced the truth back into public consciousness. Mass graves are still being discovered today. Punchline: you can bury history, but it always digs itself back up. Ignoring evil doesn't erase it, it just makes you complicit. Number 13. Marvin Heemeyer, the Killdozer Rampage. Background. In 2004, Marvin Heemeyer was a welder in Granby, Colorado, who lost a zoning dispute with the city. Most people would hire a lawyer. Marvin built a tank. The event. He modified a bulldozer with steel plates and concrete, added cameras and gun ports, and went on a 2-hour rampage. He demolished the town hall, a newspaper office, a judge's home, and more. The police couldn't stop him. SWAT couldn't stop him. The outcome. Eventually, the Killdozer got stuck in a basement. Marvin shot himself. No one else died, but he caused $7 million in damage. He's become a bizarre folk hero to anti-government types. Punchline: when life gives you zoning disputes, most people get a permit. Marvin got a bulldozer and a date with destiny. Number 14. The War of the Worlds, Panic, America versus Fake Aliens. Background. On October 30th, 1938, Orson Welles broadcast a radio adaptation of War of the Worlds. It was clearly labeled as fiction. Clearly, the event. Thousands of Americans didn't get the memo. They believed Martians had actually invaded New Jersey. People fled their homes. Some grabbed guns. Others called the police. Mass hysteria swept the nation over a radio play. The outcome. No one was hurt by aliens, because there weren't any, but plenty of people were hurt by their own panic. Cars crashed. Heart attacks happened. All because people didn't. Listen to the disclaimer. Punchline: America proved that sometimes the scariest thing isn't aliens, it's our own. Gullibility. Number 15. Charles Ponzi, the original Ponzi schemer. Background. In 1920, Charles Ponzi promised investors a 50% return in 45 days through international mail coupons. Sounds legit, right? The event? Spoiler, it wasn't. He wasn't investing anything. He was just paying early investors with new investors' money, a classic pyramid scheme. Thousands of people handed over their life savings. Ponzi lived like a king while the house of cards grew taller. The outcome? The scheme collapsed within months. Investors lost millions. Ponzi went to prison, got deported, and died in Brazil. But hey, at least he got a scheme named after him. Punchline: Charles Ponzi didn't invent financial fraud, but he perfected it so well we named it after him. Number 16. Typhoid Mary, the cook who kept cooking. Background. Mary Mallon was a cook in New York in the early 1900s. She was also an asymptomatic carrier of typhoid fever, a disease that killed people. Authorities warned her, Stop cooking for others, or people will die. The event. Did she stop? Nope. Mary changed her name and got hired as a cook again. She left a trail of infected families and corpses across New York City, all because she refused to believe she was the problem. The outcome: she infected at least 51 people and killed 3. Eventually, she was forcibly quarantined on an island for the rest of her life, 26 years in isolation. Punchline: Mary proved that denial isn't just a river in Egypt. Sometimes it's a one-way ticket to a deserted island. Number 17. The Donner Party. A shortcut to cannibalism. Background. In 1846, a group of pioneers headed to California decided to take an untested shortcut through the Sierra Nevada mountains. What could go wrong? The event: everything. They got trapped in brutal winter snowstorms with no food, no shelter, and quickly, no hope. Desperation set in fast. And when you're starving in the mountains with dead companions lying around, well, some people made a choice. The outcome: they resorted to cannibalism. Yes, they ate each other. Only 48 of the original 87 members survived. The shortcut added weeks to their journey and turned them into literal man-eaters. Punchline. Moral of the story: stick to the main road and maybe pack extra snacks. Number 18. William Hung, The American Idol Delusion. Background. In 2004, a UC Berkeley engineering student walked into an American Idol audition with confidence that could move mountains. His name was William Hung, and he had a dream. The event: he performed Ricky Martin's She Bangs with the vocal ability of a dying walrus and the rhythm of a broken metronome. Simon Cowell looked physically pained. Randy Jackson couldn't form words. Paula Abdul tried to be kind. But William? William had no idea he was terrible. The outcome: instead of quietly disappearing, he became a viral sensation, before viral was even a thing. He got a record deal, made $200,000, and toured the country. America literally paid him to be bad at singing. Punchline: sometimes the stupidest move is not knowing you're stupid. William Hung turned tone deafness into cash. And that, my friends, is the American dream. And there you have it. 36 people who proved that common sense isn't so common after all. From Molasses tsunamis to self-documenting insurrectionists, American history is filled with moments that make you wonder how we've survived this long. Some of these stories are hilarious. Some are tragic. All of them are preventable. Which one shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Did we miss someone spectacularly stupid? Drop their story in the comments. There's always room for a sequel. Remember, history doesn't repeat itself, but stupid people definitely do. Learn from their mistakes, laugh at their failures, and whatever you do, don't be number one on someone else's list. Thanks for reading. Stay smart, stay safe, and for the love of God, don't drink aquarium cleaner. All right, we've seen some legendary levels of stupidity today. Which one was your favorite train wreck? Tell me in the comments, pick a side, and hit like and subscribe for more unbelievable history.